So last day we are doing this.
Nice. Yeah, she told us you're going shopping spree.
Not shopping spree. I'm going. She is going every day to the hospital. I have to go with her.
Oh, that's more
And
important, I say.
I also work on this scholarship for, engineering children. So I'm on the selection panel for the last 6 years. It's so they have interviews on Friday.
Nice.
Today was an ideal day actually to me to set.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, so I see 3 boys. Where are the rest of them?
They're coming. The girls are coming. We've actually
Girls.
shifted a little away from the girls. That's why. Further away. You want to?
We should wait for them. No points unless you have just general questions to ask me. I don't want to
You
repeat
want to ask
them.
something in person?
Yeah. Ma'am, like I was looking at I'm mostly going to UK, but I'm also
Okay.
for finance and accounting. But
Okay.
I also know the finance and accounting in US. How is it different, and like is there anything better in US?
So the US, it's the system that's different, Peter. Better or worse, we don't know. All have their good qualities. The US system allows a lot of flexibility. So you may go for accounting and finance, but you can decide to study physics or maths or history or politics. That, unfortunately, the UK doesn't allow. So if you're going for accounting and finance, that's what you'll end up doing. The other thing, especially for accounting, is that in the UK, you can also, parallelly take an accounting. You can, like Lancaster, for example, has a EY tie-up and things like that. So you can get a accounting CFA type of degree, which is valid in India. The US, all degrees, you need to retake exams in India. So it's a little bit different. They are, of course, valid for there. You may not find accounting and finance programs. You'll find finance programs or business programs. So accounting and finance is a bit of a UK sort of thing.
And you can take minors also, right?
Yeah, of course. You could take a minor in anything, even tabla. Or dance or history or something. So the difference, sort of core difference between the UK and the US is the UK is a lot like the way India is. We've learned from them that once you've entered a certain department, then you stick to those kind of subjects. So accounting and finance will allow you to do some management type of subjects, but it will predominantly be business schooly subjects. But in the US, you can do very diverse subjects. In any case, in year 1 and 2, you will do the core curriculum. So you will do history, English, maths, all the core subjects. If you're in a Christian university, you'll do religious studies or Christian studies. So every university has a core curriculum, and you only declare your major, like in your case, a finance major, at the end of second year. So for 2 years, you will have to do core curriculum and electives that are leading towards the major that you want to do, but you are not really declaring a major at that point.
And how many year courses will they be?
Always 4 years in the US, 3 years in the UK, and 4 years in Scotland.
Ma'am, so I'm like inclined to economics as a subject, and in the SAT too, there is economics as well. So would it be advised to take that? I know SAT 1 is the main priority of US, but is it essential to take SAT 2 economics also for US colleges, or is that something they're not considered at all?
No, so some universities clearly say we want 2 SAT 2 subjects. They're very clear. Brown, for example, wants 3. Okay. So you need to look at the entry requirements of the universities that you shortlist. If they want a SAT 2, then you have to do it. You may do maths and another subject. You can do economics. You can do. I don't think there is an economics SAT 2.
That's what I was.
Check on that.
Yeah, I'll check on that.
No, you don't have an economics. So in the social sciences beta, the only subject that you have a SAT 2 in is history, world history. So that really restricts commerce and humanities subjects because all the subject SATs are in the science subjects. Physics, chemistry, maths, biology. So maths, of course, chalo, everybody can do. But the second subject SAT is always a problem. Non-science students tend to take biology because that is the only one you can sort of learn up, you know. The other option, of course, is English. English is available as a subject SAT, but it's really tough. It can be any, and if you're CBSE, don't even try it, okay? Because it's any piece of prose, poetry, or writing written in any language, translated in any decade since writing started. And you will be asked to critically analyze it. So unless you're a real literary sort, and I find very few kids like that, most kids don't tend to take the English test. So that really leaves very little for the, and history, world history across times, any country, again, it's very difficult to learn it up. So a lot of children do biology, but like I said, it depends on the universities you're applying for. Another solution to this problem is if you take the ACT, because it already has a science section, then you are exempt from taking the SAT-2s, even from the universities that ask for them. Okay, so the ACT is in lieu of SAT-1 plus 2 SAT-2s. So that is another option, you know. And the kind of science there is in the ACT exam is really class 10 type of science. So it's learnable and doable.
So is it true that people consider SAT and ACT to be like a determinant? Like, if someone takes SAT, someone takes ACT, we just need to take one of them.
Yeah, you just need to take one of them. Both are 100% accepted across the US. In fact, in the US, more children take the ACT than they take the SAT. 50-50 almost, you can say. But overseas, the ACT has not marketed itself in many years, now starting. So we didn't know very much about the ACT, but it's equally acceptable at all universities. The only advantage of the ACT is, disadvantage or advantage, depends on how you look at it, the first section. So both have three same sections: English, writing, and critical reading. So those are, maths and critical reading and the writing section. So those three sections are similar in both the tests. The ACT has an extra science section. And because they have that, you are exempt from doing a subject SAT if the university wants it.
But Namita, with ACT, they're not accepted worldwide now. It's particularly for the US. Am I right?
Yeah. Like say, for example, Singapore, for example, prefers the SAT. But
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about the US. Within the US, there is no problem.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And even Canada is fine. You know, see, the other countries, Singapore, Hong Kong, Canada, the standardized testing is just, it's not a mandatory requirement.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a good score, you can send it in.
Good mention.
But it's not a mandatory requirement. England, in any case, has no need for it. So that doesn't really leave anything. New Zealand, Australia don't need it. So it's a very American thing, the standardized testing.
Ma'am, what would universities in US, and when I say universities, I mean like the good ones, how would they react to a student who academically maybe in their school didn't get, suppose, such a great result in 11th, but his SAT score is pretty outstanding, you know? How would they react to a student like that?
Okay, so the universities in the US are divided between the national research universities, the ones that you heard about, all these big universities. All these Stanfords and Harvards and Cornells and NYUs, these are all national research universities. That means they have undergraduate programs, postgraduate programs, MPhil, PhD, the works. Then they are all the liberal arts colleges, you know, the Claremont colleges, the Amherst, there are many liberal arts. I mean, we will never have exact data on this because they will never admit to what is their entry requirement or anything. It's always very questionable. But the national research universities look more closely at your SAT scores. So they will give, say, 55% weightage and 45 to school scores. But that doesn't mean school scores is any less. It's just marginally more important for them. And the reverse is true for the liberal arts colleges. But together, a student is viewed with regard to both SATs, I mean the standardized testing, as well as school scores. See, the school scores are for the universities a greater, it gives them greater clarity on how a child is doing. Because remember, how does a school, I mean, there are Chinese people cracking the SATs all the time and they don't know how to speak English.
Right.
You know, there are kids who will just do 10,000 maths papers and crack the maths. But are they really mathematically inclined? We don't know, you know. So over time, the importance of the standardized testing is falling,
Right.
you know. And the latest university to say we will not consider the SATs, I think it's Duke. Duke has said, you know, we will disregard. So work hard in school. They look very closely at your school scores. They also look very closely at the subjects you've taken in school. And in CBSE, it's a little bit easy because we don't have higher levels and standard levels that IB does. But certainly, how you perform in school, what the teachers think about you, how you are in relation to your peers is more important than SAT scores. Okay, so is most of the class here now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just give me a moment, 1 second.
Anyone of you wants to ask anything about scholarships? We'll help you out.
All the countries are poor now and they're looking at international students to make money. So that's the problem. Okay, those days are gone when for undergraduate study they give scholarships, very few scholarships. So you have to be exceptional. The scholarships are reserved for PhDs and master students who will do research and who will give back to the community and all of that. UK, you know that there are just a handful. The Chevening is a postgraduate scholarship. INLAX is an undergraduate scholarship. The Rhodes is an undergrad scholarship. So there are very few. The Rhodes is also a postgraduate. Chevening is undergrad. And so it's just like 2 kids from all of India. So don't pin your hopes on any UK scholarships. US, some of the universities that are trying to attract international students will offer some kind of fee waivers or some percentage of scholarships. But remember, they will not be the big names. In the big names, there are 5 need-blind universities, which include Duke, Dartmouth, Yale, and a couple others. And they will just take you on how brilliant you are. So obviously, you need to be brilliant, okay? Because they're need-blind. They will not see whether you can afford to get there or not. They will just look at brilliance and make offers. Having said that, this year I have a student going to Bard to study music, BARD. Bard is a small college. It has a music conservatory and he has just got 60% funding. We've worked together for funding for him. It's a 5-year program. He's doing a dual major in music and maths, and that is really tough. But he's brilliant and he plays for the Singapore's National Philharmonic Orchestra. And he plays something called the Miramba, which I didn't even know existed before I started working with him. It's one of those long piano type things with rods, 2 meters long, and you hit it with mallets and all. And so he has got 60% funding, but it's an exceptional case. He is exceptional.
Namita, should we start with the questions? Yeah.
I'll just pull them up. Okay. So, what are the requirements of the university application, and when should I start preparing the same? So, we are focusing on the US today. The US application actually opens 1st of August. year, that's when the Common App opens and other sort of. Should I wait for you guys to settle down because there's a lot of noise of furniture
Yeah,
moving around?
just give us half a minute.
Yeah.
Here you go. Yeah, no, sir. Thank you. We can start.
Okay. Are we all settled? Because it's amazing how loud these chairs sound. I can't tell you how loud they are. It's like I can't even hear myself. Okay. So we are only pretty much focusing on US today. If you have any questions about other countries, you can interject and ask me or ask me later, whatever works. So in terms of when the applications open, all of US opens on 1st of August. The Common App is launched and all other universities also open because art universities are not on Common App. University of California is not on Common App. So there are many that are non-Common App. But everything opens on the 1st of August. However, you must maximize on the summer. Are you all 12th grade, 11th or 12th grade?
12th.
Yeah. So the summer is very important. And now, I know it's another question somewhere else, but we can answer it now. What can you do between now and 1st of August? So number one, you can work on your main Common App essay. There are 6 options and you have to choose one. They changed the options about 4 years ago, so they are after 15 years. So it's very unlikely that they will change them again. So the Common App essays, you could just Google and write Common App essays 2019 and you will get a list of them, 18, 19, whatever. Start working on that. If you're clear that you're applying to the University of California, which is UC Berkeley, UCLA, UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, all that, UC Irvine, Davis, they're good for something or the other, then those essays will not change either. So you can just Google and ask what are the UC essays. The UCs have 4 essays. They give you 8 to choose from, but you have to finally choose 4 of them. So you can even start working on those essays. Thirdly, you can start research on your university. As I was telling one of the children, what are the universities looking for? Do they want subject SATs? Do they want TOEFL or IELTS or whatever? All those, that kind of research, is it good for the subject you're applying for? Is it, does it have the sport that you like to play? Do you, just read up. Don't just say, oh, okay, Cornell is very good, let me go there. Do you know Cornell is under snow all the time? It is quite a depressing place and has the highest suicide rate. So I would suggest do some homework on the universities you're going to, okay? You also don't want to just go to a party place, So, I mean, at least we as elders hope you don't want to go to a party place. I'm sure you want to go to a party place. Any case, all that kind of homework I suggest you do in the summer and start making a list. It's quite transparent. Online, they will give you the scores that they accepted last year or the previous year. They may not have 2000 and entry scores as yet because children will still be coming to university, but 18 will be there. That will give you a ballpark figure on what kind of SAT scores they accepted. Whatever is their acceptance, your score needs to be at the upper end because as an international student, it's harder for you to get it. So if they say this is their mean, they took whatever, they say they took 1200 to 1400, then you should be at the 1400 range. Okay, so make yourself a nice Excel sheet, put down the names of the universities, and there's quite a nice way to work this out. If you hate being in cold places, then look at universities in warmer climates. Look at California, look at Atlanta, there's Georgia Tech, there's so many in warmer places. If you have family in some state, say you have an uncle or somebody in New York, then you may want to be in New York, or in the New York area, New York, New Jersey, that whole area. So start doing this homework on your universities and certainly start writing the essays. Also this summer, when do your vacations start?
5th of July. July.
Okay. So you have time. So try and do some kind of internship this summer. It's very critical because your Common App is going to ask you, there'll be all these activity boxes and one of them is work experience. Now, if you haven't got any work experience, then definitely, if you have a lot of work experience, every summer you have been doing something, then do some community service because that is what they're looking for. They're looking for a well-rounded individual. So you have to keep the studies up, but you also have to show them that you are involved in other things. So this is a very important summer for you. It is a summer for you to take the SATs. It is a summer for you to do some internship or community service. It's a summer for you to write your essays, do your research, and of course keep up with your school studies. Okay, so it's a big summer. Please don't think of summer holiday plans with mom and dad. Okay, just think about getting into university right now. So all this you can start right away. In terms of the university, I think the question was, let me get to the question again. What are the requirements for the university application and when should I start preparing? So I've answered when you should start preparing, but the requirements are that your grades should be good, that your essays should be well written, that you should have researched your universities and know that your major is good there or it's offered there, and that, that the other thing you can do is if you've decided that, I'm 100% applying to NYU, say, for example. I have an uncle who lives in New York, there's a direct flight, I just want to go to NYU for sure. Then you can start following NYU on social media. Okay? Sign up for their whatever, their newsletters and things like that, so that you're aware of what is happening. They will probably have an alumni interview when you're ready to go, and it'll always be helpful if you know something extra than what is on the website. And say for example you want to go there for economics, and they have just had a professor give a lecture at some famous event, and that it will be useful. So don't do it for 100 universities, but 5 or 6 good universities that you think you have a chance of getting into, because you don't want to waste time also. You could start following these. So this is all the stuff that you can start today, like today. Okay? Any questions on that, or should I move on to the next? All okay? Okay. So the second question was, what is the procedure for essays? What are the essays that I can work on now? I've already told you the essays you can work on now. The main Common App essay, there are 6 options. Maybe start working on 2, because your counselor may tell you if you work only on 1 and it's not a good essay, you could be starting from 0 and have wasted time. So start working on 2. You can start with bullet points and then build the essay. Remember that the essays have to tell them more about you. So it is not about grades, it is not about subjects, it is about you. It is the written interview. Okay? If they could meet all of you and know whether you'd be a good fit, they would love that. But since they can't do that, they have the essays. Okay? So make sure, keep asking yourself, am I telling them about myself through this essay? Because what very often happens, and all of us who have studied in CBSE schools, we tend to write very descriptive essays. Okay? So say your essay is about meeting the Dalai Lama and he's the idol of your life and you really look up to him, and that's the essay. Is there somebody you really idolize and you want to grow up and be like? But if you just describe the meeting and his personality, it is not doing you any favors. You need to tell them how you changed, or how did it impact you, this meeting with the Dalai Lama. So the essay is all about you. Keep telling yourself that. Don't fall into that descriptive story. Then I went here, then I did this, then I saw, then he was doing this. It's pointless. They don't want to hear all this. They want to know the growth of your personality through meeting this person and things like that. Okay? Of course, you'll have to give some background, but it should be about yourself. I don't know if have you ever heard my essay lectures before? Okay, I don't want to repeat.
No.
Okay, so this is a new class. Okay, so there are 4-5 types of essays between the main common app essay and the supplementary essays that every university has. That there are 3-4 types of essays. The first one is the why you essay. Why should we take you? Tell us about yourself. So, like I told you just now, you need to tell them. So, it can come in various different forms. It may ask you, have you ever experienced failure? How did you deal with it and what did you learn? Now, it's all asking you, why should we take you? So, you're telling them about yourself. It could be like Penn's essay was, you are writing an autobiography, send us page 217, which basically is just a page out of your autobiography. So it doesn't start with, I was born in Delhi in 1996 or whatever, or 2000. I'm guessing you all are born in the 2000 pluses. So that's also telling them. The Brown essay was, write a letter to your future dorm mate, telling him or her what you bring to the dorm. Now, it's not physically what you bring. It's not like I'll bring clothes and I'll bring my guitar and all. It's the person you are that will come to the dorm. So these are all why you essays. Why should we take you? Then there are the why us essays. Why do you want to come to us? So NYU's essay is, why have you chosen NYU? Why have you chosen BU? You know, why us? In this kind of essay, you need to do a lot of research on how you are a good fit with this university. If you're applying to NYU, and theirs is a 650 word essay, it's not a short essay. While BU's is a 250 word essay. It's asking the same thing, why BU, why NYU? But you have to accordingly pinpoint why you are a good fit at this university. So if that university has a engineering program in sustainable engineering development, and you have shown that you've done some internship or project or something or the other, or that you took part in some robotics thing and they have a very good robotics lab, then you can talk about all those things. But so don't do the, the typical thing, NYU's in the Big Apple. I've always wanted to go to New York and see all the theater. And I mean, we all know that, NYU is in New York, so you don't need to tell them that. So it's all about your connect with the university. Okay, so that is the why us essays. Then they are the abstract essays. The abstract essays are probably the hardest to write, but you can be the most creative in those essays. So U Chicago's essay 2-3 years ago was, what is odd about odd numbers? Last year it was, orange is the new black, dash is the new dash, fill in the blanks with the dashes and tell us. So you can write anything, but it's also very difficult. Brown's essay was, do you like Wednesdays? Now you have to tell them through this answer about yourself. Why do you like Wednesdays? You can't say Wednesday is the day I party, that won't impress them, or Wednesday is the day after 2 days after the Monday test, so I'm chilled. I don't know if you have Monday tests, we did in our times. Any case, so these are the abstract essays, and many universities have these. Then the fourth type of essay is a subject essay. Why are you applying for the major you're applying for? Again, you have to connect it to the university and show your passion for that subject. So that's another type of essay. And then there will be some others which are, a mix of various things. It could be, what is your favorite food? And they could be short answers. Which is the last book you read? What did you enjoy about it? So they could be a fifth miscellaneous type of essays. So I would recommend that at this stage, start thinking about these things. Maybe have a little booklet in which you write your thoughts, and it can be your college application booklet. And when you're 50 years old, you can look back and say, oh my God, what fun. But if you meet somebody exciting, you see something that strikes you as unusual, put it down, because we forget, in this busyness of life, we just forget. And you will get an opportunity to put it down somewhere. If you're sitting one day with nothing to do and researching about a university, you read something interesting, put it down, because if you just leave it and you think you'll remember, you'll probably forget. Okay? So the best way to prepare writing essays is to be a writer and to write as much as you can. There's no better preparation. So Write in bullet points, write in paragraphs, write as much as you possibly can. Because, like I said, it's the window to your soul as far as they are concerned. They really want to know the person you are. Remember that the US is a very, very big country. And kids are very, you'll be surprised. I've heard of kids who've been extremely unhappy in a busy place like New York. I've heard of kids who've been I had a student of my own who went to UNC Chapel Hill, very highly ranked in Atlanta. And finally, she had to transfer out because she was so unhappy. So you do homework. It's a very large country. To get to any uncle or auntie, you have to take a flight. And to get home, you need many, many hours. So you want to go to a place where you'll be happy, where you're a good fit. Okay? So it's beyond just rankings. And tell your parents this also. It's not just about rankings, because there's no point being at this, like I told you about Cornell, there's no point being at a place where you're unhappy. And then, you know, I mean, I have a student who went to Brown and his roommate had a pet snake, okay, which was in the room. And he had to leave college because he couldn't deal with the snake. So it's quite an eccentric place to be. But there are thousands of kids who make it work and are very happy. But make sure your subject is right, the place is right for you. If you think you want to be close to a big city, then that is important. Don't choose something that is in the middle of nowhere, because there are a lot of rural universities. UIUC, for example, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, Purdue is in the middle of nowhere, you know. But it's a huge university. If there are friends there, if you find friends, you'll be perfectly happy, you know. So there's homework you need to do. So this is what you can start with now. And the essays, of course, you can start preparing. Any question on the essays? Okay. What are the minimum requirements or criteria for scholarship other than SAT or ACT scores? There is no minimum, you know. Scholarships are really going to be based on who is the best student that they want to give their scholarship to. I don't know, that's a rather strange question. There cannot be a minimum requirement, you know. They will just take the best, they'll give a scholarship to the best student they possibly can, you know. And depends on need. Now, most of you who are living in Sharjah may not fall into the need bracket, because need-based means your parents are really not earning very much, and they cannot send you to university without funding. Like I mentioned, it's few and far between, but there is a box on the Common App that says, please consider me for any merit-based scholarships. So if you are a bright student, please, everyone should tick off that box. And if you are bright and really want you there, they will make you an offer saying that if you come to your university, we will give you a scholarship of 10,000, you know, it will be extended all 4 years. Of course, there's a minimum GPA that you need to maintain. So, and in terms of requirements, scholarship requirements, BU has a President Scholarship for which you need to be nominated by the school. Toronto has International Leaders of Tomorrow Scholarship, which is also nominated by the school. You have to show that you have the leadership, or rather the school has to convince them that you have the leadership potential, and that is why you are applying to, you've been nominated. Yeah.
Ma'am, not too long ago, there was a student named Saad Kadir in our school, and he used to participate in a lot of environmental activities in school, outside school, all around. So he got into his college with the scholarship as the environmental head of the university. So things like this, is it something that we apply for, or that they look into us and give us, you know, the...
No. Yeah, by and large, they will decide what they want to give you the scholarship on. There is no application system unless it's the president's or the dean's scholarship and all, which are few in universities. When you tick that box off, They will then say, okay, fine. Like I told you about this musician, he ticked the box off. He studies in Singapore. He's too rich really to get a scholarship. His parents can well afford it. But so he got into some bigger universities, but they weren't giving him funding. So he's chosen to go to Bard. They want an international student, a good musician, and to make their music department complete. They didn't have somebody who plays the miramba. So, their need has to be fulfilled, and then your need has to be fulfilled also. So, like I said, do all that you can. Make your resume well-rounded. And when you choose your universities, don't only choose the big names. NYU, for example, it's on their website. We do not give any funding to international students. So if you just choose the big names, say I'm going to apply to Stanford and Harvard and NYU and all, then obviously there's going to be no funding. But if you have a mix of universities, some small liberal arts colleges, if you look at Ithaca College is in the same city of Ithaca where Cornell is, they give a lot of funding, because a lot means they'll give $20,000, $10,000 every year to a child, because they are trying to attract international kids. So if you're very serious that you cannot go without money, then choose universities that have money for international students, which are basically the smaller universities, because the big ones have enough coming. Okay? Any other question on this? And of course, make your resume as good as possible. Okay. How to infer about more universities according to my SAT scores. So you don't choose your university according to your SAT score. You choose your university according to the major you're applying for. So if you're applying for economics or engineering, first you look at that. You decide, okay, fine. These are 20 universities. You can look at the rankings, you can look at the location, you can look at the size. Do you want to go to a small university, like a small liberal arts college? Do you want to go to a big? Actually, this is what your counselors will help you with. They will help you narrow down the list of your universities. Then, once you put in your criteria, maybe you just want to be on the West Coast, or you just want to be on the East Coast. Maybe you're okay with any part of the US, but you don't want a very, very small university. Maybe you don't want to go to, the girls don't want to go to an all-girls college. So there are many criteria. And on that, you will narrow it down. Then you will come to, okay, I'm applying to these 4-5 states. Now let me see which universities have a good computer systems engineering program, if that is your subject. Then you will narrow it further down. Then amongst that, you will see what are their SAT ranges. What are the kind of, they also tell you that we have 80% of our intake is top 5 in the class or top 10 in the class. All this data is there. So are you top 10 in your class? If you are, very good. If you're not, then that's a tough one for you to, it's a reach university. So you will weigh all these things, and basically college counselors help you do this kind of thing because they have the data. Okay, and the data is available. So if you do enough homework, you'll be able to figure it out. Then you need to see within this list, where do you want to apply? Remember that university cost differs quite hugely. A Georgia Tech costs less than $50,000, and University of Washington George Washington University costs over $80,000. So even that is a big range, NYU costs almost $80,000. Then living in New York is very expensive. So you have to have this discussion with your parents. How much do we really want to spend on this? And so there are many criteria on which to build a list for yourself. And each child's list is obviously different, because each one of you are different. Your major is different. Your parents' financial situation is different. Which area you want to live in, you may have different needs. If you play a sport, you may want to go to a school that offers that. If you want that kind of extracurricular activity. So there are many things to look at. And that's how you come to a list. The SAT score is just one small part of what they are looking for in you and what you are looking for in them. Okay? Because if you say I have 1400 on the SAT, there'll be so many universities with 1400, that range. Where do you go from there? You'll come with a list of there are 5,000 universities in US alone. So you have to bring that down to 8 or 10. So you have to look at all various criteria. Right? The next question is about the SAT level 2, SAT subject SATs. Are they necessary? Okay, as I mentioned earlier, before the girls and others came, the standardized testing requirements are clearly mentioned on every university website. Just go to your university, go to admissions. There they will say only SAT, SAT with subject SAT, only ACT, everything is given. So you have to do that homework. Yeah, it is not, I mean, there are many, many universities that don't even have a SAT requirement, leave aside a subject SAT requirement. Okay, so look at that and decide if you need it or not. I'm presently doing SAT subjects. Please advise if I should do SAT or ACT. Well, if you're already doing the subject SATs, then you might as well do the SAT, because you will need it with the SAT. If you do the ACT, you don't really need subject SATs. The ACT already has a science section, which is in lieu of the subject SATs. So if you're doing the subject SATs, then I would recommend don't study science, that's physics, chemistry, maths again for the ACT. Stick with only but let me spend a moment telling you the difference between these two tests. So the SAT is an aptitude test. It will check if you have an aptitude for English, an aptitude for maths. The ACT, on the other hand, is an academic test. It tests if you paid attention in class or not. It tests what you have learned in school. So they are very different tests. Some children who don't do well in the SAT do quite well in the ACT, and vice versa. I always recommend students in grade 11 to do a diagnostic of both the tests. You can do an online diagnostic and see where you get better scores with no preparation. And that gives some indication on what you will be better at. If you're the kind of child who pays close attention in class and remembers things from school, then the ACT you may do better in. But if you're the kind who's naturally gifted in maths, you've never had a problem, you pick up the concepts very quickly, then maybe, and your vocabulary is good, then maybe the SAT is a better test for you because you have an aptitude for those subjects. So very different kinds of kids do well in these tests. Okay. The next question is, how will the scores be converted? The CBSE scores do not need to be converted because they have full understanding of the CBSE. There are years and years of CBSE children who have gone before all of you. So you do not need to convert anything. They know exactly what a 95% means and what a 98% means and what a 75% means. So don't worry yourself about this. Okay? It's nothing to do with you. They will be asking your class teachers, subject teachers, and your class teacher in the recommendation whether you are in the top 5%, top 10%, average, below average, all that they will ask the teachers. So you don't need to worry yourself about this. Okay? Need advice if IELTS or TOEFL is better for the US and Canada. Okay. So the IELTS, both of them are acceptable, even though US TOEFL is better. And I personally, my daughter took the IELTS. It's a horrible test to send scores for because they don't have an online system of sending. So you have to go to the British Council, then you have to tell them, you have to give them money, and then they will send the scores. The TOEFL is very well managed and you can just send it online. So my recommendation, just to make your life easier, is that the TOEFL is easier than the IELTS. I mean, just easy to send scores. It's just very well managed. So, and of course, both are accepted in both countries, in all countries. So no worries on that. how and where to upload details of extracurriculars. As I mentioned in the application form, whether it's the Common App or the UC form or any other form, there's a whole section of extracurriculars. And everything has to be given in detail. So you just don't write, I am head of the debating club. You will have to give some detail about that, you know, how many members there are and things. How many hours in a week do you do this debating? How many weeks in the year do you do this work? Whether it's community service or debating or sports or music or theatre or whatever you are participating in, it is quite detailed. And you have to give them. So say, for example, you know, there are children who come to me and said, you know, in the summer, my father donated 300 blankets for the poor people in Hisar or some Meerut or someplace. And that's the community service I did. It's all very good because you have a rich father. But how do you put down how many hours in a week you did this work? How many weeks in the year you did this work? You actually did it in like 30 seconds. Your father gave it to you, you gave it all, you know. So they're also not fools, okay? And so in community service, they want to see continuity through the years that you've been doing something. For work experience, they know it will be a burst of work. I went 8 hours a day for 3 weeks for this internship or for this work experience. For anything that you do in school, so say for example, you play basketball, they will ask you how many hours a week, how many weeks in the year. So you can write down, we play basketball, I play for 2 hours every week or 3 hours every week for all the 40 weeks that we have school or whatever. So it's all on the form. You do not have to, and this is ratified by your counselor recommendation. So if you are the basketball captain or you play on the basketball team, your counselor recommendation will mention that yes, he plays on the team and he's committed to, and he's played inter-school or inter-house or whatever you play. So you don't have to send them any certificate to say that I went and played with DPS Gurgaon or Delhi or X or Y, I don't know where you all play, or that I took part in this debate or something. That is ratified by the school recommendation. The school recommendations, there are 3 of them. 2 are by teachers and 1 is by your counselor or class teacher. They write about all these extracurricular activities. They don't write about your subject that the teachers write about. So the counselors will write about your personality, how you interact with your peers, do you help your classmates, what kind of extracurricular activities you take part in, what level have you reached in, and those kind of things. So that is their job. So you will put it down in the form and they will ratify it in the recommendation. How to submit proof of non-academic achievements. Like I mentioned, there is nothing but a form that goes. It is all online. You cannot mail them anything. You cannot attach anything to this form. So many years ago, I'd gone to an American university on a tour. And the minute they heard I was Indian, they took me off into a room where in those days we used to still send applications by mail, you know, like used to go by courier or mail. And in this room were full of things that Indian children had sent them. Cricket bats autographed by Sachin Tendulkar, you know, face painting competition certificate, Rangoli competition certificate, and everybody was having a big laugh about it because every child had decided to put in everything in the package and send it off. So now they have made it impossible for you to send. There is nowhere to send anything. Everything is online, and so everything needs to be sent. You have to honestly and truthfully put down what you really do. And everything that you put down, please share with your counselors. They will ratify if you do this or not. So another piece of advice more for the counselors, any child that is doing anything outside of school, please tell them to give you evidence of that. If they have not given you evidence, you cannot write about it. So a child cannot come to you and say, I took part in a Bollywood movie, unless you have evidence of it, you know. So, sorry?
I'm saying unless I get to see it.
Of course, either you've seen it or they give you some evidence. So, there are a lot of children who will say we do theater outside of school. Now, you may not be watching that theater. Or we did this internship that my father organized. Okay, then you need to get set of reference and all of that and give it in. So everything, because also the reputation of the school is at stake. If the counselors just ratify without checking, and then the child arrives there and has no idea about what he had written, it's a problem for the school, because technically we have to vet out what they've done. Yeah. Okay. Then I'm a science student. Is it possible to study finance and economics in undergraduate? And if I do undergraduate from India, 3 years, would it be possible to do a master's from the US? Okay, so the first question, you're a science student. Yes, you can go and study any subject you want. You, of course, have to do the core curricular in the first 2 years and then do the electives going towards economics or maths or accounting or whatever you want to study, or business. You will declare your major only at the end of second year. The exception to this rule is engineering and architecture. For those two courses, the major you declare at the end of first year. Everything else you declare the major at the end of second year. So you have 2 full years to catch up with finance and maths. And remember, they are children who do A levels, who do only 3 subjects. And then they go up to the US and they study a new subject there. So that's the beauty of the US. There's total flexibility. You can change your major. You may join saying, I want to study physics, and then you may leave it and do something else. Okay. So again, this leads me to another question that a lot of children ask me. They say that, will I get into this top college? Say the top college is Brown. Will I get into Brown if I say I'm going to study philosophy? Is that easier to get into than if I want to study economics? Now, that is true for Delhi University. It's easier to get into philosophy than it is to get into economics. But that is not true for the US. In the US, you're getting into a university. You're not applying only to a course. Yes, you tell them I'm interested in this and all, but you can't be pinned to that. You're allowed to change. So it is getting into the university that matters, not the course, okay, as much. Of course, there are some courses. There's the M&T program at Penn, which is the Management and Technology. So it's a joint course between Wharton and their School of Engineering, which they only take 30 students every year. So that is like you're literally applying for the M&T program. So as a counselor, I'll say, if you want to go to Penn, don't apply for the M&T. They take only 30 kids, just apply general, and that is again advice that your counselors will give you. But by and large, you apply to the university, which is why the university doesn't care whether you're applying for their philosophy or things like that. Yes. In fact, universities probably care more about are you a first generation going to college and things like that. That's a big deal for them. If your parents or grandparents have never been to college, then they have a little bit of leeway for that child, because it's the first child of the family going to university. In India, we literally don't have any children like that. Everybody's parents have gone to college, so it's difficult for us to say we are first generation going to college. Yeah. Okay, I've forgotten the question in the midst of this whole story. Yeah, so yes, yeah, you can of course change your major. The second question that was asked was, if I do a 3-year undergrad in the US, in India, can I still go to the US? So many universities have a 4-year requirement. They say that you need to have studied for 4 years, but that is changing now. You can apply for a master's after a 3-year program. But now this child has written about doing management, then it's all quite likely that you are going off to do an MBA and you need work experience for that. So the work experience will override your undergraduate study. So it's a long way off, but certainly with an undergraduate degree from India, you can go to the US for a master's. If you're going for an MBA program, you need work experience. If you're going for a master's, you can apply directly. okay, after college in India. Okay, which college other than UCLA and USC can I apply for economics plus movie making? Now, whoever's asked me this question, firstly, it's film studies. Movie making is not a correct word only in the first place. Okay, so it's a film major that you're going to do, and there are many colleges that also offer, and UCLA and USC quite rightly are the USC is a top runner, and so is UCLA. But Boston University also has a great economics program and film studies, or filmmaking or film degree. Ithaca College, as I mentioned, then Chapman University, that's in California. NYU has both these programs, are very good. Florida State University. So there are lots and lots of universities that will offer both filmmaking as well as economics. Okay. And of course, UCLA, USC are there. Then multimedia. Is it a good course to pursue and where? So multimedia obviously is for people who are interested in working in multimedia design. So it has to be a person who has a design DNA in them and want to consider a career in design. And you can work as animators, as graphic designers, art directors, multimedia artists. So there are many, by and large, people who go into multimedia do a degree in fine art or graphic design or that kind of a related field. Okay. They are also digital video specialists. They are technical, interactive specialists. So there's a lot in multimedia. It depends on your interest. If you really want to study this, then. But by and large, one goes for an art school. You go into a art school, really. Okay. Which is the next question?
How can
How can I apply? Sorry?
No, same. I was just reading that.
Yeah. How can I apply to university for a degree in BTech computer engineering? So for all engineering degrees, children, you need to have studied physics and maths. You should have done some calculus. It's quite clear that you need credits in, calculus, physics, and those kind of subjects. If you've studied computer science, definitely it's a added advantage. It may not be a mandatory requirement because there are schools that may not offer computer science, so they cannot make it mandatory. But I know of lots of kids who go to study computers. See, even in the UK it's not a mandatory requirement to have studied computers. It is a mandatory requirement to have studied physics and math. But most of the class would have some computer knowledge before they arrive. So you really then struggle. So if you are interested in computer engineering, I suggest you should have studied computer science in school in class 11 and 12. Okay, so you apply just the way you apply to any other university. You narrow down just the way you do as you do in any other university. There's nothing new, but as part of the core curriculum, again, when you join, and here because it's engineering, you will declare your major at the end of first year. You need to have done some electrical engineering major credits, some maths credits, and some calculus credits. So these are mandatory requirements to do a BTech in computer engineering. Requirement for a physician assistant. Okay, now why don't you just want to become a doctor instead of? You want to be a nurse. Any case. So nurses and physician assistants are what they call mid-level practitioners. And they are not doctors, but they take on some of the roles of doctors. And basically, you need to earn a bachelor's degree of 4 years, which you will study biology and those kind of majors. And then you need to do a physician assistant training program, which takes 2 years. So it's not a very easy one, but it's easier than becoming a doctor. Okay. We don't have a lot of this in India. So whoever's asked this question needs to think this through, whether you want to be a physician assistant or not. because there is no specialized course for this in India. And if you return to India, you don't get a visa there, you need to think this through. Yeah. So we're done with those questions, but if you have any others, you can go ahead and ask me.
Ma'am, so I have a question about SAT. I've heard like different statements about how colleges take SAT, right? So I've heard people say that they take an average of all the I'm talking about SAT one, all the SATs that you've given. Some colleges, I've heard some people say that colleges take just the best one. Some I've heard they take, like the best of, like maybe you did better in maths, they'll take that one, and better in English, that one.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So there is something called score choice, or your best, like you said, the best of all. Every university will clearly say what they take. So Penn, for example, says you need to send me all your scores. Any case, remember, when any one score goes to the university with your name and your date of birth, all the scores arrive there. So you cannot hide your SAT scores. So then it's up to the university. Some of them just do score choice and choose your best and take out the average from that. Some of them will say, you need to have got the scores in one sitting. But by and large, the super score is what universities look at, other than the really top universities that say we want to see all scores. Super scoring is quite common. Let me put it like that. Yeah. So it's not in your control, beta. The only thing I can say to all kids, you're almost grade 12 now and it's too late for you guys. But, I get a lot of kids who in grade 11 say, oh, I didn't prepare, but I just went off to see how it was. Bad idea. Because even if you do brilliantly in your second time and you prepared nicely, all your scores are going to go. And universities get a little worried when they see this, first time round he got 1100, now he's got 1460 or something. Why that kind of, variation? So whenever you take the SATs, only take it fully prepared. Please do not take it on a whim and just say, I thought I'd try and see how it is. This is not a try wali cheese. It's a thing you have to prepare for. Okay? Any other question?
Ma'am, I want to pursue mechanical engineering. Can you suggest a few colleges which I could go to?
Oh, I just can't rattle them off like that. But Georgia Tech would be a good option because it's very highly ranked. It's a public university, so it's not so expensive. It's in a university. I mean, Atlanta is full of universities. There are so many. So that immediately comes to mind. But also UIUC is very good. All the big names are very good. See, I mean, a lot of kids ask me questions like the one you've asked me. Unless it's a very unusual major, something very, very specific, I only want to do astrophysics and nothing else. The normal subjects, economics, history, engineering, mechanical or electrical, any of the normal engineering, all the top universities are offering them and are good at them. But yes, film studies, for example, these we do more homework on. Then, I mean, NYU will be good at engineering. There are so many colleges. It's like UC Berkeley is good, UCLA is good. There are so many. So you need to narrow down on how well you are doing and then where do you really want to go. But yeah, the reason I talked about Georgia Tech over some of these others is because it's a public university in a cheaper state. Their fees is about 47,000, which is real value for money. You're going to, I think it's ranked number 4 and for engineering. So you're going to a really great place, which is not so expensive. Now UC Berkeley is also a public university, but California is a very expensive state. So the fees are all 68,000, so imagine public to public and yet so much difference because the state taxes make a lot of difference. So, yeah.
Ma'am, I want to pursue software engineering, but I am looking into Canada and US. I just found Waterloo, which is actually offering software engineering. But ma'am, in US, I didn't find a university which is offering only software engineering. It's either you take computer science and then you do software engineering, or ECE and then. Do you know any specific, any university?
I wouldn't know a name offhand, but beta, anybody who's offering computer science and computer systems engineering will offer software at some stage. It may not be a major that you apply to right away.
Yeah, ma'am, it is there after like probably in your third, fourth, but then ma'am, is
Yeah.
which is offering as a major like.
I don't think the US works like that. See, now Canada is somewhere between UK and US. So you apply to the School of Engineering and things like that. The US, like I said, you have to do the core curriculum. So it will never be there in first and second year. In the case of software engineering, because you will declare your major at the end of first year, in second year you will study computer science, and in third and fourth year you go. That will be the natural progression. Yeah, so look at those that are good at computer science and you'll be able to find your answer. Yeah.
Done?
Okay, so are we done for today?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Namita. We'll stay in touch.
Yeah, Vasudha, anything else? Do we know when the next one is?
Do we know
The
college?
timetable ban gaya hai?
23rd as of now.
23rd as of now, but we'll confirm with you all if you're free, available, which way.
I'm just in Delhi for a week, so next Wednesday I'm back. Anytime after that is good for me.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.